Good afternoon. This is the third meeting of the Brother Benno Standing Ad Hoc Committee, ad hoc of the Planning Commission, City of Oceanside Planning Commission. We are going to, the process today is to have staff do a presentation and an update. It's been a while since we last met. Go over a number of the points that were covered previously and in the other two meetings, and then invite the public to provide their input. Scott, did I miss anything, or is there another? Is that pretty much what we're doing?
You got it, except for this is the fourth standing committee meeting.
Fourth standing meeting. I don't think I missed one, but maybe I've lost count. Okay, with that, I will just go ahead and look to staff to walk through the presentation.
Sure, real quick, just a matter of order, just to have roll call for the standing committee members that are here. Commissioner Balma.
Present.
Commissioner Crayhill. I believe he's present on Zoom.
If you're asking if I'm present, I am, but you're all on mute, so we can't hear you from the Zoom side.
And Chairman.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
And Chairman Rosales.
I'm present.
Let the record show that all standing committee members are present.
Do I need to kind of walk, since we were muted, walk through kind of what we're doing today, or?
Yeah, if you don't mind, just real quick introduction.
Sure. Okay. So we were muted a minute ago, so I will walk through kind of what we're doing today. So this is a fourth meeting of the ad hoc committee, a subset of the Planning Commission, to talk about the CUP, conditional use permit for Brother Benno's. We haven't met in a while, but we are reconvening today. The process today will be a presentation by staff to update us where we are and what we plan on bringing forward, and then we will turn to the public's input to solicit that, and then we'll wrap it up with some questions and then direction. So I will turn it over to staff to walk through the presentation.
Okay, thank you. I'm Scott Nightingale from the Planning Division, here to present the Brother Benno's fourth standing committee item. This item is to recommend revisions to the existing Brother Benno's conditional use permit, which is conditional use permit C3390, to make recommendations to the Planning Commission to enable revisions to conditions of approval 33, 34, and 36, and add conditions 37, 38, and 39. These conditions will help regulate the operations of the facility. Here's an image of the site as depicted in the blue. As we all know, the site is located at 3260 Production Avenue. As many know, the facility here provides services to not only the homeless, but to low-income families. They provide food service, breakfast service, lunches. They also provide some showering, and also provide some clothing to unfortunate individuals. They are open on a daily basis with the exception of Sundays. So this meeting will cover a report from staff, which I'm giving now, regarding the conditional use permit and what we're here to do today. A review of staff's final recommendation for the revised and new conditions. And the committee will provide any comments and or recommendations regarding these conditions. And these will go to the Planning Commission, hopefully sometime in January 2021. A little background. For those who weren't present in the previous meetings, on October 15, 2019, we had our first Brother Benno Standing Committee, reviewed the just general operations of the facility, reviewed some background information we received from the public and some information from the adjoining neighbors. We had a report from the Oceanside Police Department. There was also input from the Brother Benno's representatives and staff just to give more detail on what they actually do at the facility. And from here, we established a standing committee schedule, and we elected Chairperson Rosales as the head of the meeting. Then on December 3rd, 2019, we had our second meeting. Staff prepared a staff report regarding the conditions for the original condition of approval. A review of staff's preliminary proposal to revise these three conditions. At that time, the committee was generally amenable to the revised conditions, but they had comments which expressed condition 37, which I'll go more into the conditions here later in the presentation. And lastly, our last meeting was held on February 18, 2020. Reviewed the background information on previous meetings. Condition 33, 34, and 36 were presented for further details regarding security, operational plan requirements, some details on the rules of conduct, basically just for providing more of a yearly reporting program. New conditions 37, 38, and 39 were also presented, and the committee was generally amenable with the request to amend condition 39 to include an ID list of individuals who may be under investigation by OPD. So here's, let me go over the conditions, the existing ones. Condition 33, this is an existing condition which we are basically revising. It's a requirement to establish a security and operation plan, which would be subject to review and approval on an annual basis by the chief. The plan must provide enforcement based on the rules and regulations mostly regarding loitering. Condition 34 was established to enforce the rules of conduct, which were an existing condition, and also having customers and users of the facility sign an acknowledgement form saying they will follow these rules of conduct. Condition 37 was more for compliance with conditions of approval for the yearly reporting to the standing committee, and also yearly reporting, which would be brought forward by the planning department. And lastly, we have the new conditions. Condition 37, this is for on-site mail services on a year basis, with times and pickup times based on the rules of conduct. Condition 38, this condition was established for on and off-site pickup of trash and specifying locations for pickups and times by the staff. And condition 39, as read here, we revised this condition based on the standing committee's recommendation basically for more accountability, and this is how it would read. So this is one condition that's basically the only change from the last time we met. So this will be an identification card database shall be established for all clients utilizing the Brother Benno's facility. Each customer utilizing the services provided through the Brother Benno's will be issued a plastic laminate ID card that will be used for entry in the facility. Brother Benno shall utilize this database to collaborate with the City of Oceanside's Planning Division and Police Department to refuse service and entry to the facility to clients who have been identified as a public nuisance and or who may be under investigation for criminal activity. So that last sentence was basically what we added to this condition. So with that, staff is asking that the standing committee make final recommendation so we can take this to the Planning Commission for review and approval for their consideration. As of right now, we're tentatively scheduling this next meeting, Planning Commission meeting, for sometime in January of next year. So with that, staff recommends that the committee review the conditional use permit, revise these three conditions, 33, 34, and 36, and approve the newly established conditions 37, 38, and 39 into the resolution, which will be presented to the Planning Commission at a later date. This concludes my presentation. I'll be on the sidebar to answer any questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Balma.
Thanks, Scott. That was a good overview. It brought us back to speed of where we're at. I couldn't remember exactly. I know on condition number 37, it deals with the mail service delivery. What did we end up, and what was our final resolution with that? I know some of the committee was into a different favor than I personally was. I was kind of siding more with our police chief as to we need to probably remove another another service. And these guys, I think the other guys were more into like, I'm not sure. Where do we leave off with that?
I believe for condition 37, that was the on-site mail collection.
Right.
The consensus was a 1-year time period. If they wanted to expand that in any way, they'd have to work with staff and directly work with planning department staff. But as of right now, we were holding pretty hard on just a 1 year to allow mail service. So I don't know if you guys have any other recommendations, but that's what we took from that.
Right. I think that my two fellow commissioners were into the 1 year. I was not. So, but that's 2 to 1.
So, Scott, a follow-up question on that. So after the one, is it a firm 1 year, and after that they can't come back and ask for an extension? I don't recall that either. Or was it 1 year, and then we'll see how it's going, and then maybe there is an extension?
I'm sorry. Yeah, just to clarify, just a 1 year, hard, steadfast, only for each individual. And if they want to expand that, we'd have to come back to the standing committee to ask for something for additional time. I believe Brother Benno's staff was not supportive of that. They wanted to try to have something written either in the rules of conduct, if I can remember well, to allow some individuals that were more upstanding customers to be able to use the mail service for a little bit longer.
Okay. And then I had a follow-up question. Again, sorry if I was looking at my previous notes and I might have missed it, but the CUP, the new conditions and the renewal of the existing ones, refresh my memory, were we going to have them meet some performance metrics and then bring back that information on an annual basis to see how that is going, or are we just executing a CUP with these new conditions and then it's in place for X amount of years?
That's correct. Actually, condition 36, the last sentence, has reference to a yearly reporting. I'll just read it out. A yearly report prepared by the planning division regarding Brother Benno's compliance with the approved conditions shall be provided to the standing committee on an annual basis. So that was our way of having the yearly reporting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Commissioner Crahill, any questions on any of the items?
I think I got it all. Chief McCoy had unmuted for a second. I don't know if Chief McCoy had something to add to the mail discussion.
Chief McCoy's here.
No, that's fine. I think you guys clarified enough. That's good.
Thank you, Chief.
I have another question for staff.
One more question for Commissioner Obama.
I just am curious, in the city of Oceanside, is there any other area in our city that a facility such as Brother Benno's would be allowed outright without a CUP?
No, all these types of uses require a conditional use permit. I believe we have one other facility, but they provide somewhat different services. It's Bread of Life, and they had to go through a use permit process, I believe. Yeah. So any new facility needs a use permit and subject to planning commission approval.
And one other, just something to throw out. We didn't really do what we've heard and what we've learned from last time. But one of the things we did, we get a lot of letters this time from different people in the business park. And actually a couple of them that I read had some concerns, and I'd like to hear more about this from Brother Benno's staff, is the food distribution that happens on a certain day, I think it's Thursdays, that actually completely disrupts business at all. Like one person told me that they had to have their UPS only comes after 4 o'clock because they don't even want to deal with it. So I kind of want to hear a little bit more about Thursdays, and if there's something we can do to changing some of these times within the conditions, I'd like to kind of look at that. So that's something maybe more for Brother Benno's staff, but I'd like to find out what's Thursday and why was that such a hot button with so many of the neighbors?
Commissioner Balma, yeah, we can ask the Brother Benno staff. Like you mentioned, we did receive, I believe, about a little bit under 10 letters and emails of neighbors and business owners in the area that had concerns with just the general use itself and overall homelessness that's occurring in the center. So I forwarded those emails to the standing committee members, so you should have all those.
Yeah, We got those. Thank you. Our protocol today, are we allowing, because I see a couple of, on the board behind me, a couple of the interested parties that want to provide feedback today are members of Brother Benno's. Is the protocol today that would allow them to do a presentation, or we are merely treating them as the public with 3 minutes of testimony?
Yeah, the way I have it listed on the agenda today is they can actually do a presentation if they need. I have them on the Zoom list, so they'll be calling in and doing their presentation via phone.
And that would be?
That would be, I believe, Sheila Steedman.
Sheila and Daryl?
And Daryl.
Sheila and Daryl, if you can hear us at this point, and you'd like to do a presentation or respond to any information received so far and or new conditions, now would be your time.
This is Sheila. I just now got logged in, so I didn't hear anything up until now. That's okay. I didn't really have, after reviewing things, I don't have anything to say at the moment.
Okay. And you can always reserve your time and come back as you hear some additional input. Daryl, anything from you?
If I can interject, I think Kathleen was actually the representative from Brother Benno's, not Sheila. So it's Kathleen and Daryl.
Okay. Kathleen, I'm sorry. Would you like to do a presentation on behalf of Brother Benno's on any of the items that we raised today, or anything about the conditional use permit that's being proposed?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I'm going to speak very shortly because Daryl Harris will jump in probably to do the majority of the heavy lifting here. I'm the president of the board of directors, and I really thank you all for working on this. We do have a couple of concerns that Daryl will mention in more detail. One of them is regarding the mail and the hard year stop. That is going to be a big challenge for us in terms of stopping that. And I wanted to see if I could find out from the commissioners what the plan is for those folks after the year is done, in terms of how they would be able to get any type of mail once we cut off services. So I'm not sure what their recourse is after that year.
And maybe we can hold that as a question that we can come back to later. Did you?
Wonderful. And then let's see, the other issue, the food distribution. I can definitely answer that, and Daryl can speak to it in more detail. The food distribution started happening with COVID, and we are working with Feeding San Diego. And each Thursday, we distribute boxes of food to people around the county who are in need of food. And we do it, it begins at 10 a.m. And we distribute the boxes of food in a drive-through through the warehouse next to our building that we rent. People drive through, they pick up boxes of food and other items. And then as soon as we run out of the food that we've received from Feeding San Diego, we stop. And we've attempted to have many folks on our staff out directing traffic and attempting to make sure driveways aren't blocked. And we have worked with the city to try to come up with a plan for how the folks enter into Brother Benno's and enter into the business park, and how they exit, to try to avoid some of the issues for the other businesses in the community. So we have been attempting to work on that and work with the folks, the other businesses in the community. But I wanted to let you know that that was a new development that's happened because of COVID, and because we were asked to help with the food distribution for the folks who are out of work, who are struggling with the pandemic. So that is, I hope that answers your question about what that's all about.
Thanks, Catherine. And first off, I just want to let you guys know at Brother Benno's that I think you, the organization, your volunteers, your staff, what you do for the community. I'm 100% supportive of Brother Benno's and what you wish we had more Brother Benno's, but I just want to, because if anything I say that might feel like I don't appreciate you, I really do, but it's just there's other people that we also have to think about, but I just want to let you know that first. The second thing I wanted to say is on the Thursday distribution, is there any way you can change that day to like maybe a Saturday or a Sunday when maybe the businesses aren't as many are in operation? Because it seems like, from what I've heard from some of them, they even have to have their UPS service postponed because they can't even get in there to deliver. And now they say they can only come at 4, and it's just been a disruptive thing. Can you change the time when you do that, like from Thursdays to Saturday or Sunday, or what does that do to your operation?
Commissioner Balma, I would have to defer to Daryl on that. I believe logistically it may be a challenging issue because we're working with the larger organization of Feeding San Diego, and the food distributions are planned out. So I don't know if there is the option of availability on Saturday. As you are aware, we're closed on Sundays. So that would require us to be open on Sundays to do that. We need to give our staff and the folks in our program who are largely doing all the work right now, because we have less of our volunteers, we need to give them some time off. So Sunday is typically their day off, but we could look into the Saturdays, but I know it is a challenge to try to fix that. We are temporarily changing it for this month to Wednesday, the 25th. Why are we doing that? Because Thursday is Thanksgiving, and we're distributing boxes, what we call with Feeding San Diego, a Thanksgiving in a box. And so people can come and they can pick up a box, which includes a turkey, amongst other things, including stuffing and all kinds of good stuff to make their own Thanksgiving meal. So we're doing that on a Wednesday, but it required some logistical changes with Feeding San Diego to change that distribution for that date. So I'm not saying it's out of the question, but it might be a challenge, and Daryl can speak to that in more detail.
Is Daryl going to speak to that? Or?
Any other questions?
Well, since you brought up this one part, you said that you now have a warehouse next door. Is that the building that's, I guess I could say, towards the ocean or west of the facility? Is that building that you're renting now for warehousing?
Yes, we've been renting that warehouse for a while now.
Yeah, because I wanted to say that I noticed as I drove by a couple different times during the days, different days, that there were a lot of your clients just camping out there, like making it like their home. One day I counted 6 different patrons, and another day I counted maybe 3. So I just wondered if maybe you're allowing them to just kind of hang out in the grass area in front of the building, and that's okay with you. And I thought that was a strict thing on your code, that you wouldn't let people hang out after they come for their services.
And again, Daryl can speak to that, but we do have our security and we do try to move them along. And so that is important to us to make sure that those folks are not loitering and staying around too long. So that's unfortunate that that's what you saw when you drove by. We do make every effort to try not to have people hanging around for too long.
Thank you. Kathleen,
Thank you.
Kathleen, I'm going to throw it over to Daryl for his input. And I'll get back to you on your question about the hard mail stop. Daryl, I guess the question I would ask you, you've now seen the conditions in the CUP and what your sense is of that. And then the question I had to do with your tracking program. I think it's called OASIS. The last time we met, which was some time ago, you and your staff had talked about getting that going pretty soon. So if you could update us on where we are with that.
Not a problem. Good afternoon, everybody. Our OASIS program started in January, and it was moving along just fine. I think by the time the last meeting we had was in February, we'd already switched about 300 or 400 people over, maybe close to 300 people over. So that is going great until COVID hit. And once COVID hit, I had volunteers in the office that were in the high risk group. So our office basically shut down, and we're down to a skeleton crew to keep the place up and running. So I do have a couple of brave volunteers that are there Monday through Friday. They're trying to sign as many people up as they can, but it's nowhere near the success and progress we were having before COVID. So, but we're right in the middle of switching Oasis from PeopleTrack, and it was a difficult enough thing to do without COVID. But now that COVID has hit, our office is completely shut down. We still do, some rudimentary things, keeping our numbers and all that, but signing up mass people for Oasis is not going on right now. But it is trickling in, as doing the best we can. But we still have it in place, and it's still ready to go as soon as we open back up. And of course, when we open back up, I'd like to tell you I had a definite date for that, but I do not, because now with the new president and him making a new COVID task force, I really don't know. I already put in to Feeding San Diego for the drive-thru you've been talking about for another 6 months, because we don't know when COVID's going to be over with. And now, yes, Oasis is still in place. It's still ready to go as soon as we open back up. To move over to your drive-thru question, the reason we got Thursday is because we're working with Feeding San Diego, and we are deemed a super pantry, and we're not the only ones deemed a super pantry in North County. So what they had was day slots, and we just happened to get Thursday. And it's not like we had a choice, but that's the one we got. Our stuff is delivered on Wednesday. We hand it out on Thursday. So to change that day to a Saturday, I don't think Saturday would be possible, because they don't do it on Saturdays. Not Feeding San Diego, anyway. Not that I was aware of. But now, the time limit we're talking about here is about a couple of hours. I would say the traffic is going, because by the time 11 o'clock rolls around, everybody's already gone through the line, and there's no more line, there's no more traffic. And we do have people that go, we have our program members, orange vest, cones, that go down and keep the driveways unblocked. It's not an exact science. Some people are unruly and block a driveway or two, but for the most part, we keep the driveways unblocked with cones and with personnel. As far as people hanging out, I don't know what time you went by, because if it's during the day of our business hours, some people do lag on leaving, but we try to make sure they're out of there by 1 or 2 o'clock to get them off out of the business part. Now, it's not an exact science, and which probably brings me to my first thing on the new revisions is, now it says a security and operational plan shall be prepared subject to review and approval on an annual basis by the city's police chief. The security and operational plan shall provide a security presence on site. Are you saying we have to hire a security team or a security organization of some sort? Is that what you're requesting there? Because I'll be honest with you, our security is me and one other guy. And I'll tell you right now, we're up against it every day. We do the best we can. So, but when they say this, because we already are doing that on site, but do they mean they want us to have a security force of some sort?
I think I'll tackle that one, and then somebody else can chime in. I don't think we're trying to dictate exactly what you will do to meet that obligation, other than if it's part of the condition that you have a security plan and somebody executes that. I think that's the intent here. How you go about that, I think, is up to Brother Benno's, whether it's just you and another person or an actual firm. So, Chief, you're on the line. Staff, if I've got that wrong, please go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, we have the same idea. Generally, if they have staff members that want to provide the security, an allocated staff member that regulates people coming and going, that's fine. They don't have to have an actual professional security company come in. So.
The only thing I'll add is that it is an item that we would evaluate on an annual basis, Daryl, through our review of how the CUP is going. So I think if it's a well put together security plan and well executed, then I would suppose that when we do our review and we get a sense of how that's going, the better the plan, the better the outcome is, I guess what I would say.
Okay.
Commissioner Rosales?
Yes.
So from the police department's perspective, obviously we would evaluate the plan, as you stated, to try to ensure that it was an effective plan meeting the needs of not only of Brother Benno's, but obviously the business park, those that being affected. And as far as who actually conducts the security would be up to Brother Benno's. But the amount of people may change. I mean, it may be Daryl and one other person at this point, but if that's not sufficient, that's not sufficient. He may have to employ some other volunteers to assist him. But we would evaluate his plan and look to see if it's meeting the needs of what we're trying to accomplish in that area.
Thank you. Go ahead, Daryl. You were going to make some other points?
The mail service, I spoke extensively on that in the last few meetings that we had. I don't, 1 year I don't think is very fair to give an individual that's homeless some access to mail. I just don't think a year is enough time to do anything, you know. If you could get off the streets in a year from being homeless, I'd be amazed to see that. And I will say this, we have been working closely with the HOT team, and those guys are on the ground with us there, and they're right in the trenches, and they're down there making things happen. But they got better resources probably than us, and we're a slow process. So getting somebody a year of service is just not gonna, I don't see how that would either help or hurt or not letting them have mail service. I don't see how that's going to make a difference in homelessness either way, to be honest with you.
Well,
because if you cut off a homeless person's mail service, all you have is a homeless person without mail service. That's not going to make a real difference as to their homelessness or whatever. I don't see what giving it a time limit, if somebody could explain it, giving it a 1 year time limit is going to do for a homeless person.
Well, I'll jump in. So I know this was a discussion point we spent a lot of time on. And we went back and forth, and we talked about the pros and cons. This is kind of where we are, Daryl, in terms of what we feel at this point makes sense as a group here to move forward with a CUP. And this will go to the Planning Commission next, and then ultimately, so there'll be some additional discussion. But this is kind of where we are, Daryl, in terms of the back and forth that we had at our previous meetings. And for myself, I think I want to see how this goes. This is kind of where we landed. So though it may seem a short period of time, and then somebody's cut off with their mail service, we understand we got that input. But this is just kind of where we landed with that particular issue. Commissioner Obama?
I'm not a post office expert, but from what I understand is the post office has a general delivery area for people that don't have a resident. So why can't a person that doesn't have a house or homeless, whatever, just have their mail delivered to general delivery at whichever post office they choose? There's several in the city. So I thought that's what they would end up doing. Would end up taking it from Brother Benno's and saying they're going to pick the one on Brook Street, or they're going to pick the one in, I don't know, Rancho Del Oro, or the one downtown as their mail service location where they would go pick up their mail. Is that the way? Is anybody here a post office person? I mean, that would understand that? I don't know. That's what I understood to be what would happen.
Well, I think that would be a tremendous burden to put on the local post office. It's not an easy thing. The people we deal with are not, it's not the Brady Bunch, you know. I mean, they're not going to run on down to the post office and sometimes be polite. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. We deal with a very different kind of crowd here. And the fact that we do the mail service, we know what we're doing. I don't think you can push that on the local mail service. That would be quite a burden for them. It'd be quite an undertaking. You'd have homeless people at the post office, and I don't think you want that.
But Daryl, that's just going right in the face of the people in your business park saying they don't want the homeless in their business park. So, I mean, that's the whole point here, right?
And we want to switch them to the post office?
I would rather switch them to their relatives.
Again, Daryl, this is where we landed in terms of some kind of compromise after a lot of back and forth. And so we understand what this may do to some of the folks and the patrons that use Brother Benno's. But again, this is where we landed after much dialogue.
I have a question.
Commissioner Belma?
Daryl, you've been at Brother Benno's a long time, I know. And I have something that I pulled out of my file on Brother Benno's that was probably something that Brother Benno's did do for years, but then I guess for some reason stopped. It's called the Brother Benno's Center Rules regarding the Oceanside Industrial Park, and it's kind of a way that Brother Benno's kind of becomes a good neighbor to the businesses in Oceanside's business park. Like all kinds of things were listed here, like not sitting on the curbs in the grassy areas of the doorways, not discarding trash, no panhandling, no RVs parked, no overnight sleeping. All this stuff was once part of Brother Benno's trying to help with what was going on down there. I just wondered if this got pushed by the wayside because of your legal counsel, and because now it's all just been focused on just your building and just your property limits. Why did this go away? It sounded like this could have helped out a lot with some of the issues we're hearing from of the business owners, that it went away now, and now it just seems like it's gone pretty harsh in the park. Not to your fault, but because of your clients. Again, I praise you guys, Brother Benno's and Daryl and Catherine and all the people there. I'm just trying to say that we're trying to also listen to the people in the business park that have been putting up with this now for almost 29 years. That's a long time. So, and I was one of them. I had a business in the park in the 90s and the 2000s, and we saw a great difference between before Brother Benno's and after Brother Benno's. And during the time that I was there, we had this rules. We had these like Oceanside Industrial Park, kind of like between you and between the industrial park was kind of a way to kind of help with some of the issues. So do you remember what happened to that, Daryl, by any chance? Or how do I get a hold of it? I can show you on my screen here.
No, I know the rules you're talking about.
You do? Okay, good.
Yes. And we try to enforce those as best we can, but the rules have changed. I mean, the courts have given people rights where they can be on the street and I could get somebody off the property, but sometimes they want to stand there right there on the street. I could call the police, but then they can't do anything either. So I have to just get them off as best I can. And not everybody's willing to cooperate at all times. I mean, that's being honest, but we do try to enforce those rules as best we can.
I hear you. That takes a lot of manpower to try to enforce all these rules that are listed on this page that I have in front of me right now. It would be like you said, you can barely even do the security question that we have on condition number 33, let alone try to tell someone not to park their RV on Roymar Road. Which, just by the way, as I was driving here today, I counted just from the privy of 76, over 20 RVs. And I know since we started this little committee a year ago, this RV park, we might as well call it like Roymar, like RV resort now, has pretty much expanded. I'm sure you've seen this too, but this is overwhelming. So that was one of the things listed on here was no recreational vehicle, camper, trailer parking in the industrial park, except for the times when they're coming to get food and services, which is understandable and totally fine. But I don't know. So just want to know if you just basically, it kind of went by the wayside because you guys couldn't really enforce it, it sounds like.
Daryl, I'd like you to touch on one of the other new items, and that's item 38, which has to do with the on and off-site pickup of trash. Your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with that 100%. I have a guy one of our program guys, that's all he does is first thing in the morning is the roads and routes that you have put down. He makes sure to hit every single one of those every morning.
Okay.
So I don't have any problem. There's no problems there. It's a bit large and probably I don't know, stay out of our scope, but we are willing to do that if that's what the CUP now requires. We don't have a problem picking up trash.
Very good. Okay, so it looks like other than item 37, you're in agreement with and ability to do pretty much all the other new conditions.
Okay, well, there was a little something on 39 at the end that a couple of us had a problem with, or an issue, and that was, I understand, the identification card database shall be established, for all clients for Brother Benno's, and but you have here that we're supposed to refuse service and entry to the facility to clients who have been identified as a public nuisance. Okay, we get that. We try to work on that ourselves. Or who may be under investigation for criminal activities. I don't know. I don't know if we can kick people out for being under investigation. They haven't been convicted of anything yet, have they?
Yeah, and I believe we added this language, again, after lots of dialogue back and forth, we added this language after our last meeting to this item here. So staff, can you maybe expand on some of that? Maybe you can pull that item up. But I do recall, Daryl, that we tacked this on to that condition per our conversations last time. As a means, if I remember correctly, to be able to have some say in the review of the patrons using Brother Benno's and going through your system, background system. So some means where we could have a say, if you will.
Committee Member Rosales, yeah, that's correct. I believe the chief and the interdepartment staff worked on. We actually had meetings, and per our past standing committee meetings, this is the language we came up with, the last sentence of this condition, just so we could have a database, or we could have some, hold them accountable for having, any people that were some unsightly characters in the facility that were causing an issue in the city.
Well, I understand that, but this says under investigation for criminal activities.
So is that your particular word, that particular word is the one that you have a question about?
Yeah, if somebody's under investigation, how would you, you're going to tell us that somebody's under investigation and don't let them in the facility? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
You'll let us know who's under investigation?
I'll defer to staff on that one because I don't have that.
Yeah, I believe the chief wants to chime in on this one.
I don't know where under investigation, I'm not sure where that particular phrase came from. I think what we were looking at is those folks that have been deemed to be involved in criminal activity, that they not be allowed services from your facility. So, with our current judicial system, we have people that we arrest and they serve 7 days for breaking into a car, and then they'll be back out on the street and they'll be back into breaking into cars again. Those are the folks that we're talking about. I'm not sure under investigation is probably the right phrase we'd want to use. We would want to, I think it would be those folks that have been deemed to be engaged in criminal behavior.
Chief, is it possible to say ongoing criminal behavior? Because what if somebody has had something happen one time or two times versus are you talking specifically about somebody who you deem to be frequently and involved with criminal activities such that they're arrested numerous times?
Well, since the recidivism rate's about 90%, I would probably venture to say that they'll be back involved in criminal activity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but we want to be able, as part of our mission, to be able to help anyone who needs help. Our mission is that we clothe people, we feed people. We don't ask about what their criminal history is. And now that's an expectation that we would have on us is to not be able to allow certain people to have access to our services. because they are under investigation for a crime?
No, what the goal is that the police department will be providing lists of those folks that we deem should not be receiving services based on their criminal activity in our city.
And will you provide us with more information than just their names?
We will not.
So basically, we're just going to be receiving from you a list of people that we cannot serve based upon what you deem that we should not be serving. Is that correct?
It'll be based on those individuals that have engaged in criminal activity in our city. Yes.
Ongoing criminal activity?
You know, ma'am, I'm not really sure what you're trying to get at. So if we have people in our city that engage in criminal activity all the time, and if they're using your facility as a means to get food and to stay in our city to continue to victimize people in our community, we do not want them to get services from you.
I understand that, but I'm asking about ongoing criminal activity because we believe that people make mistakes. And although you're right about that there is, a high rate of recidivism, we do want the opportunity to be able to serve people and care for people who have made mistakes. So where do we draw this line so that it's fair both to you all and to, people who make mistakes and deserve the basics, a shower, clothing, something to eat? That's all I'm asking. Like, where are they supposed to go?
Well, I'm not going to answer that question. I would hope that they would go back to their relatives or to the city where they live. But the bottom line is that's the position of the police department, and that's what we'll be pushing forward with the Planning Commission.
All right. Well, as the president of the Brother Benno Foundation, and Daryl can tell me if he disagrees with this, but, it is our desire to provide services to people who need them. And it's really tough when we're being given a list of names to say, I'm sorry, you're not able to receive these services. And when they say why, what we're supposed to say is, well, we've been instructed by the police department that we are not allowed to serve you.
And as the police chief of the city, ma'am, my job is to ensure the safety of all the residents in the city, whether they're homeless or not homeless, so that they're not being victims of criminal activity.
And I respect that and I appreciate that. And I thank you for everything that you do. But I hope that you understand what we're trying to do as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Daryl, did we leave anything out before I maybe invite the public? And we do have a few folks that would like to speak to this item. Do you have anything else that you'd like to respond?
Well, I would just say we don't have anything against Oceanside Police, and we do understand what they're trying to do. Like I said, I love to see the police coming down our street. I wish they would stop there more often, to be honest with you. But this is police involvement that deep into a 501c3 organization that feeds people. That it seems more like we're turning into like a police state there or something. I don't know. Maybe it just seems to me that that's deep involvement with the police into what we do, and that to me, something doesn't seem kosher there. But Chief McCoy, I understand exactly what you're saying. I deal with these people all the time. And I'm not going to paint a rosy picture of anybody because that'd be completely unrealistic. These are not cool people some of the times. And not allowing people based on their criminal records or what we think they've done or might have done or did do. I don't know. It puts us in a really, really weird spot. But like I said, I understand what you're talking about, Chief. I do. I'm not trying to turn a blind eye to the reality of things, but I don't know if organizations such as us are supposed to be getting that deep into even like doing police work, I guess, it seemed to me.
So, Daryl, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe, I don't know the exact number, but the people that we give you on the list have committed 20 or more crimes. So we're not talking about somebody that went out and stole a pack of cigarettes and now we're going to ban them from going to Brother Benno's. We're talking about people that we have identified as career criminals, that they have not engaged in any type of activity that would cause them to be rehabilitated. Not to say that they couldn't at some point in time in their life, but they have demonstrated by their actions that criminal behavior is part of who they are at that point in time.
Chief, I understand. I understand exactly what you're saying. Yes, and these people are around. Yes, they are. I guess it feels like we would be the police ourselves. You know what I mean? I mean, we're not in the police business.
Daryl, we're not trying to make it police. We're trying to make it so that we're not rewarding people that we know are engaged in criminal behavior and victimizing the residents of our city, whether they're homeless or not homeless, because a lot of these folks that are out there committing these crimes aren't just committing crimes against people that are not homeless. They're committing crimes against fellow homeless people within the homeless community. So, those are the people that we feel should not receive services, any type of services from our city, period. And, it's not because of anything other than of their actions, the actions that they have decided that they want to choose to do.
And I'll just add this, Daryl. So this is a condition to continue to have a permit to operate as you are. In order to do that, this is another condition. So I would say it's fair and reasonable, given what the chief has included in terms of the background for some of the patrons that use Brother Benno's and or the safety of the community. I think it's reasonable and fair. So anything else, Daryl, or can I turn it over to the public for their input? You still have opportunity to come back later on.
Chair Rosales? It's Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Creel. I'm wondering, because I'm just hearing from both sides here, I think it seems like there's probably some in-between room here. The chief was even already suggesting the language be somewhat changed. Perhaps if instead of it being the phrase under investigation for criminal activities, it were to be something more along the lines of deemed to be engaged in ongoing and habitual criminal behavior of 20 or more instances, which was the number the chief identified.
I would not want to put a number onto it, because if somebody goes out there and commits robbery, and they've done it twice, there's different types of criminal activity. There's misdemeanor criminal activity and there's felony criminal activity. So I don't necessarily would want to put a number on that. I would want to say those that are involved in habitual criminal activity. I think it's fair.
Okay. Daryl, again, we'll hold a spot for you to come back and add anything to the discussion at the end, but I'm going to ask staff then to, at this point, invite the public. I know we've got a couple of folks that want to weigh in at this point to have their input. Scott?
If I could just add to what was just discussed, staff can work with the police department if recommended by the committee to revise that condition, that last sentence. We could state what the chief said there. If you want to take out the language where we have investigation of criminals to anything, whatever you guys would recommend. So that can be done.
Yeah, I think we reached this point or this language in that condition after much dialogue last time, and I'd be open to refining the language a little bit, but I think the intent is the intent, and that is to have language that is fairly straightforward in terms of the ability of the city to control who uses the services there. That's my opinion.
Sure. We could go to the extent of stating maybe something team to people included or engaged in criminal activity and add that in with the last sentence and, strike out where needed.
Okay. We can come back to maybe crafting some more elegant language. The public, do you have some folks waiting?
Yeah, we have our first speaker. I don't see her on the list. Sheila Steelman, are you on the line?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm not familiar with how the mail collection works. Do all of the homeless people come every day to pick up their mail? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're trying to
We can hear
ascertain.
you. The Brother Benno staff may be able to provide a little bit more detail. From what we understand, that a majority of the individuals do collect mail. This facility does cater to low-income families that have homes, so some of those individuals may have their own mailbox, but some of the homeless individuals are utilizing this facility for mail services, so yes.
Sheila, rather than a back and forth, why don't you go ahead and finish your comments, and we'll hold that question for Brother Bennos to respond to afterwards.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to suggest, can't they be assigned a day and a time to come and get their mail, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, so that everybody's not showing up at the same time? It sounds like that might be a problem where there's just congestion because of the mail. That's my comment.
Okay. Any other comments, or that was it? Just the mail?
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Again, we'll come back to you and give you an answer in just a bit. Any other public waiting?
Next speaker is Kelly Nunez.
Ms. Nunez?
You've just been unmuted. So.
Hi, yes. Hello, yes, we're here. We're very familiar with Brother Benno's. I'm with One Stop Aviation. We're directly across the street. So first, we'd like to say that we believe that they do amazing things in the community. There definitely are individuals and their clients specifically that need sustenance and safe harbor. We just believe that there's a culture of disregard for the safety. And I think it was very poignant what the chief of police said, that we're here in this community. We have employees, we have neighbors, we have tenants that are attempting to just run their businesses, create commerce, and be safe. And that ends around here at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's concerning for us. We don't have it on the weekends either. If they don't have staff there, then the population grows. And the population that grows is violent. There's been robberies. We have a neighbor that had their truck broken into, their work truck. So all of their tools, all of their inventory. And they had to pay the deductibles for that. And that shouldn't be something that's on us. So I think the most important thing for us that we would like to really ask that be considered is not only do they have to have a plan, and that plan should include security. I should not have to make my female employees go home early because I don't have any male staff. I should not myself be worried about coming here on the weekend to see if I can get something out so I can go to work at home because I can't be here by myself, nor can the owner. That is a problem. I shouldn't have to worry about leaving my shipping stuff outside. And in terms of Thursdays, that is extraordinarily disruptive. We actually are an overhaul shop. So we need our supplies. And not only do we need our supplies, we need to be able to ship our engines out. We can't even do that on Thursdays anymore. That sets us back. If I don't have the parts to give to my production line, that can take me a day or two. And that's a problem. If I can't get an engine to a customer that I promised, that means I can't receive the dollars in. I have literally had to worry about how I'm going to make payroll in the past because of the interruptions in our supply chain. That's a problem. And regardless of whether or not the driveways are not blocked, when my freight companies cannot come up and down the streets, that is interrupting commerce. And that's not okay. You need commerce. You need dollars in order to contribute back to the communities and allow for programs like what Brother Benno does to exist. And I think that in addition, in fact, when we heard Daryl speaking, and we know Daryl very well, he mentioned that, and I'm certain in the recordings you guys will hear this, that they haven't even asked. He doesn't know that they couldn't get their supply on Friday and then distribute it on Saturday because they haven't asked. It's not concerning. They told him what they needed to do. Well, what we need to do, and I speak for all of the businesses on this street, we need to be able to create commerce so that we can pay our employees who are as valuable as every other individual that breathes on this planet. So that's one concern. The safety concern,
Ms.
that's a huge
Nunez, your
concern.
3 minutes are up. Can you please wrap up your comments?
Yes, the safety. I'd really like to find out. I'd like after this to find out when we get to review the plan. When do the citizens get to actually, and the owners get to actually review the security plans that they have in place that they're going to be presenting for approval? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nunez. Any other speakers?
I think that's it. That's all I had that reached out to us. But oh, I'm sorry. We have Ryan Lamb. Are you on the line?
Mr. Lamb, are you there?
He did make it aware. He made me aware earlier that he may or may not be participating, but he will be listening in. But he did provide an email with the letter that I emailed to everybody here, and you should have seen that. But yeah, sounds like he's not on the line.
Do you get to read this? Do you want us to read it for him instead of? Do you have it? Just read it.
I do have the email.
I just read it because you probably waited a long time and just forgot.
Okay. Yeah, I could read his comments here.
That'd be good.
Thank you.
Okay. So, to whom it may concern, I'm writing on behalf of my company and fellow community citizens with whom we share common view on our Brother Benno's neighbors. We have operated our business for almost 3 decades, a few doors down, and have always gotten along with Brother Benno's staff. As much as they've tried, the situation around our business has gotten much worse over the years. We regularly come into work with people sleeping on our front doorway and in the back parking lot of our establishment. There is often trash, drug, alcohol, paraphernalia, human waste, among many other things, littering about our property and entryways. Things have progressed so badly that we've had customers turn away due to high volume of people loitering in front of the entrance. For many years, working in this business part, I had grown accustomed to folks walking in front of my moving vehicles, costing myself and our employees, as well as the general scene that is often made near the intersection of Romar and Production Avenue. As much as this chaos has become the norm, the levels where it is now has become unbearable for us and many neighbors. Much of the street is occupied by dozens of motor homes and buses that park in close proximity to the food kitchen. Those dozens of vehicles create a dangerous atmosphere to conduct business, as we regularly witness fights, drug dealing and usage, arrests, as well as mentally unstable individuals who roam the vicinity every day. Many mornings, the overcrowded people and cars make even entering our own parking lot a challenge, as the entrances are often blocked and parking spaces already taken. As I asked the city, consider the use of homeless outreach in such a thriving business location. While the organization itself has value, the disruption and loss of business we incur is no longer acceptable to those who pay rent here. I hope we can find an agreeable solution to repair the damage that has been done to this business park, as the past many years of efforts have not seemed to ease the congestion of homeless individuals who gather. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Brian D. Lamb.
Thank you, Scott. So that would conclude our public input. I'll go back to Daryl. There was one question from Sheila about the mail, how often that occurs, that is handed out or somebody can retrieve their mail.
Mail is available 6 days a week, 6:30 to 11, and sometimes after lunch, 11:30 for stragglers, but they can get there. Now, when it comes to traffic, most of the people that pick up their mail get their mail and leave. There's about 90%, maybe even more. They get their mail and they depart. They just use this for the mail service. 6 days a week. And those aren't really the people that we have problems with. And the email from Mr. Lamb is basically correct. There is mentally ill people roaming around, but, I try to get them help as best I can with Exodus, IHOT, and the HOT team. I mean, we don't just let people roam around Brother Benno's. You must understand, we do try to get them connected to some sort of help. And about the traffic on Thursdays, I apologize. we need to do a better job. But that service is not going to the homeless. That is going to people that are not working due to COVID. Those are for people with homes that just come on Thursday.
Can we change it to
That has nothing to do with the homeless. But I do apologize for the driveway situation. Like I said, I do the best I can with my guys to keep them from being blocked. But, it's not a perfect system.
Daryl, we had a question here.
Daryl, I had a couple questions for you. Nice to see you on Zoom. On the part about the people come to get their mail and then they leave, how do the majority of those people come and go?
Some on foot, on bus, on bikes, in cars.
So they could still go to the post office then. It's not like that. Some of them maybe can't, but it sounds like a lot of them have the ability to go to one of the post offices to get their mail general delivery. The second is that on the Thursdays, have you even asked, like one of the people, one of your neighbors across the street, I guess who knows you too, had asked, have you even asked the San Diego Food Bank if you can get delivery on a different day to help out this business park?
I have not. I can, like I said, they gave us the day. It's not like we asked for a day. And we're not the only people doing the drive-through distribution. So they had to make a schedule, and we just happened to get a Thursday. I could look into it, or excuse me, I will look into it. So if I can get a different day or a different time slot or whatever, because I thought we were doing pretty good on the drive-through because it would start at 10 o'clock. People start lining up around 9, and we get them all out, and the street would be cleared by 11 o'clock. I understand, I guess that's critical times for businesses, but that's why we kept the driveways unblocked. But like I said, it's not always a perfect science. I apologize. But, yeah, the people in the cars are not homeless. Those are people that are hardworking that, due to COVID or whatever, they're not doing so well. And, I don't know how else to say that. But,
Okay. Thank you, Daryl. I don't have anything else. Commissioner Crahill,
Yeah, thank you, Chair. A question, and it might actually be for the city attorney's office potentially. Just wondering, would any of these conditions that we're considering here potentially have any implications, particularly legally, that would bind the city to require similar requirements on a potential year-round homeless shelter that the city would establish, like the one being considered Ocean Shores? Is there any connection there, anything that would be tying our own hands as a city if we were to impose some of these conditions?
Good question.
To make sure I understand your question, Commissioner Crail, you're asking if we impose these conditions on Brother Benno's, will we be setting a precedent that we're bound to impose similar or the same conditions on any new facilities, any new shelters that come in?
Exactly, precedent. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
I think I think Mr. Borrego would like to respond to that.
I don't want to cut off Barbara, so I'll let you go ahead and finish your thought. Okay. Well, I was going to say, commissioners and members of the public, Jonathan Borrego, Deputy City Manager, Development Services Director. I can tell you that one important distinction between the facility that is being currently considered for the Ocean Shores facility and Brother Benno's is the facility at Ocean Shores would not operate as a drop-in facility. It would most likely be a facility that was by referral only. So a lot of these issues that we're discussing and trying to address through these conditions of approval would not be necessary under that operational model. There was one other point that I wanted to mention as well with regards to the drive-through food service that's being provided right now. Clearly that's not allowed under the existing conditional use permit. So I want to make it clear that they have no legal right at this time to provide that service. And so we will be taking a look at that as staff just to make sure that it isn't creating a severe disruption to the surrounding business community, because I think certainly there's a balanced interest. I understand it may be a short-term operation in light of COVID, But nevertheless, I do think it's something that the city needs to take a closer look at. And if we need to take immediate action to address that, we will, because clearly that's a violation of the existing conditional use permit.
Thank you, Mr. Borrego. I had the same thought and hadn't expressed it yet, but thank you. That is a good point. Mr. Crahill, back to you. Anything else?
Well, that was just my main question. As far as the conditions, I think, we've made a lot of progress here. I think, there's been a lot of back and forth that's gotten us closer to where people can agree. I think the mail service is the big one that since day one we've had, a lot of disagreement on. I do, have a little bit of a concern about the complete hard maximum. I think I expressed at the last meeting the opportunity to maybe do an annual renewal for folks who are showing that they, are continuing to try to move forward with their lives. And we can use our own language in the conditions for something like this based on compliance with the rules of conduct. So I would be in favor of us pushing for an annual renewal potential, not just a hard maximum for mail service. And then again, just if we want to come back to condition 39 and trying to wordsmith some of that, just to add in, essentially just adding in ongoing and or habitual as words and getting rid of the investigation term, I think was kind of what it sounded like most folks were at.
Great, thank you. So we heard a couple of ideas from Commissioner Crahill, and I would suggest on item 39 that staff work with the chief and see if we can't refine that language just a bit, and that then would be brought to the full planning commission in January. And then to the idea of the not hard 1 year on the mail, I would suggest we leave as is, and then that's something we can take up again at the planning commission as a modification if the rest of the planning commission would like to entertain that idea as opposed to keeping it hard. So those are my thoughts. Commissioner?
Well, I have kind of a statement basically on the whole. We're here to review whether Brother Benno's is in violation of their CUP. That's what we're here for. And when you go back to the original resolution, which was given to them back in 1990, and one of the findings that was stated was that this location has to abide by certain, and this use has to abide by certain things within the general plan. And with that, it has to be found to not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of the persons residing or working in or adjacent to this neighborhood of such use, and will not be detrimental to properties or improvements in the vicinity or to the general welfare of the city. And from what we've heard from just a few people that actually took the time to write letters and emails, and to me always it makes it sound whenever you get one that's 10 people behind him, because we all know that these homeless people are very smart and they network. And so none of these businesses want to be the one that says, hey, that guy's doing this, because they know that their cars are going to get broken into, their businesses are going to get targeted, and it's happened to the ones that have spoken up. So I say that it's a strong presence in that park right now that are pretty much against this CUP or this use even being in the park. And I understand that Brother Benno's is doing an excellent job. Again, their staff, their people, whatever they're doing, it's like commendable. They're saints, which we could multiply them by 100. But it's the use in this business park that's jeopardizing these people's businesses. And one of the emails I actually read was that one person said, if the city's going to allow this to continue, then the city needs to compensate these businesses for having this terrible burden put on them, like reduced business license, or maybe their water and utilities bills gets reduced. I'm just throwing this stuff out, but there's got to be a plan where these people can actually have some kind of like, I'm not sure if it's a benefit, but something that kind of giving to them to kind of like go over this burden of losing, like this one lady said, loss of revenue. I mean, this is getting to be serious. It's 29 years of time that this has been in here. And we have to look for other places. Like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but we have El Corazon right now with a big parking lot that the soccer fields are not even activated. Can we just put the RVs there for like an interim, just to give them some peace from having 20 or 30 or sometimes up to 40 RVs parked in that industrial park? I've driven through there and counted them, and it's crazy, and it's becoming a real big problem with human waste and everything else. And even in the further into this resolution, it also states about the California Environmental Quality Act. It said that at that time this would not be against it, or it would not require anything. But when you think about all the people's RVs, and everybody's been telling me that lives in the park or knows the people in the park, that this stuff has just been dumping. So that's environmental, I would think. And I know that the city of Oceanside has gotten into some of that with going for grants and such from the water department to try to figure out a way to clean up the river with this integrated regional water management plan they've been trying to get. By now it's old, it's 2016, so I'm sure they've gotten the money and have used it. But bottom line is I just want to send this. This is not going to fix the little things we're trying to fix now, but bottom line, I want to add to what we tell our fellow planning commissioners when we pass on to the city council, that we need to get this thing done. And it's only getting worse. Like, we've only had this committee now for what, a year? And I've seen exponentially it's like gotten worse just in 1 year, not even with COVID. That's even another double. So Brother Benno's is doing what they can, but we, the city, have to really step up our game. And I'm not sure if this one idea you guys are talking about is going to help, but RVs have to have a place to be parked. We have to have human waste not just dumped into our streets and into our waterways. And people, like, even in my own neighborhood in Southmore Hills, I've got, like, I could count maybe 10 people right now living in the river right across from Melba Bishop. It's getting worse and worse and worse. So Brother Benno's is not all of that, but Brother Benno's does create the fly and the flypaper situation at the industrial park. They've amassed a lot of people now living in that riverbed and in that park that have come to their facility to get benefits and get help and support, which we're thankful for. But those businesses we're also thankful for. So I think the city needs to step up a little bit and help those businesses by maybe no more business, maybe business license fees gets reduced, or like I said, water and utilities. Think of something that could kind of maybe help them through this process until the city can actually find places to maybe make this actually okay for people to live within. I mean, I don't know. I could go on and on. I have a soapbox that you don't want to hear anymore. So anyway. So just want to say that what we give to our fellow planning commissioners has to be, we need to get some teeth in this. In this next year, like these guys have all, our new council has come aboard and they've all talked about homelessness. Well, we got to do it this time. It can't be kicking the can down in the road and adding a couple conditions like, let's take away the mail service, let's do all this little stuff is not addressing the answer.
Yeah, and I appreciate, Commissioner Balma, your energy and your passion for what we're trying to do here. And you speak from having firsthand knowledge, having had a business in the industrial park, so appreciate that. I'll just add this. That I think we've all wrestled with this for a year now in terms of these meetings and trying to come up with something that acknowledges what Brother Benno's does, and it's all good and has a lot of value. But the other side of that is the impact it has on the local businesses there, the police department, and the community at large. We now are going to push forward this revised CUP to the Planning Commission and ultimately the City Council. We will have a year, essentially. We will buy some time to evaluate how this revised CUP may work. It's not magic. That year may not get us any further along with what Commissioner Balma is referring to, and that is the broader homeless issue in Oceanside, which is large. But it buys us some time to at least evaluate this business and what they're doing and whether or not these changes, small as they are, help move that needle a little bit. So I'll stop there. The next action on this item is to bring it to the Planning Commission in January, where we continue to have some additional dialogue.
We need to add that caveat about the Thursdays. We need to ask Brother Benno's to really work on trying to get that service changed to a day that doesn't disrupt people's businesses and their livelihood. That was importantly stated. I think that Mr. Borrego kind of agrees. We can definitely figure out that. That should be added to the conditions.
Well, no, and that's separate from what we're being tackled here on the conditional use permit. It's separate in that Mr. Borrego is going to be talking about really compliance with the existing CUP, that goes counter to that. So correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to tackle that here relatively soon.
Yes, that we'll look into the situation, and certainly I don't want to give the impression that we're going to shut it down, but I do think it warrants taking a closer look at, just to make sure that it isn't getting to the point where it's significantly disrupting commerce in that business center. Also, I mean, it could be that just looking ahead as we work on the conditions of approval, that we could add a condition at some point down the road to make it very clear that that activity is not allowed if we decide to do that. So, I would say that discussion is still on the table in the context of the existing CUP. I guess the flip side is you could argue that because it's not explicitly allowed and it's not specifically called out in their letter of operation, that it wouldn't be allowed anyway. But it'll be up to the planning commissions and city council's discretion as to whether they want to add a condition to explicitly address that aspect of their operation, just to be clear in the future that that would not be allowed, or if it is allowed, under what circumstances it would be.
Well, and given that it appears like it's a different clientele that's utilizing that service, I think one thing that should be entertained if you're going to engage the Brother Benno's on this item is whether that gets shifted somewhere else in the city and folks can just as easily go there instead to pick up, in that 2-hour window what they need in terms of food and whatnot. So I would ask you if you could maybe include that in the discussion.
Certainly, and that's a very good point. I mean, there could be other areas of the city where this sort of arrangement would actually work without disruption to anyone.
Great, thank you. That's all I have. We don't have any other public input. We've heard from Brother Benno's and staff. Commissioner Balma.
No, other than just, I think that as much as I like Brother Benno's, I think they are in violation of their CUP. Just by what I just read, it isn't right that we give a CUP to a use that is actually disrupting a neighborhood and a bunch of businesses. And it's been doing it for a long time. And we just keep coming up with different, to me, small items that really don't. I mean, we can't put it anywhere. So that's what we're fighting at. There's no other place to put it, so we'll just leave it there because we've picked that place, and we don't want to put it back downtown because that's worse. And so we'll just take this industrial park and we'll just put it there. And now these people have gotten to the point where it's over their heads with just like, can you help us? That's why I'm thinking I'm going to write to the council, but can't we figure out some way to help them business-wise, to give them some benefit for having this use in their park for so long? That's kind of something I gotta have to do myself, I guess.
And Commissioner Crahill, one more shot. Anything else to add before we close out?
I don't. I think it's been a good process. I, again, appreciate it. I think what everybody said, what Brother Benno's does and how the city's been trying to work with them. I feel for the business owners there too. And I actually think Commissioner Balma and I agree very much that, this is a problem of we don't know where the right place to deal with this is. So it's where it is now. So it's kind of just kicking the can down somewhere. But, we have a much larger issue here. It's way beyond Brother Benno's. And hopefully our city and county, state, and national leadership will take it on more seriously, as it looks like the city is trying to do with the construction of the homeless shelter. But I think we've said enough for our piece, and we'll see what the rest of the planning commissioners think.
Great, thank you. Chief, anything to add before we close?
No, thank you. I thought it was a great discussion as well. Thank you for
thank you for your input. Always appreciated. Okay, with no other items for discussion, we will adjourn the ad hoc committee.